We are going beyond the page with the team behind Long Bright River. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this is such a wonderful series in the sense of, you know, it takes you on a true roller coaster ride. The twists and turns are things that you cannot anticipate. And I feel like what you get out of it at the end is maybe not even necessarily what you went into the story thinking you were going to feel.
What's up?
Nikki. Did you hear?
Hear what?
They found another victim.
Kensington woman?
That's what I heard.
What else did you hear?
Good morning. Thank you, Sergeant Ahern, for letting me get right to it.
Get right to it then, Detective.
Another young woman was found. Possible connection to the Kensington murders. She's a sex worker, like the others. Motive unclear. No witnesses.
Insulin overdose?
No. It's a gunshot. But the victim, she's still alive.
Tell me a little bit about, you know, how you wanted to ensure that we're kind of getting the full scope of all of Mickey's relationships and where the twists and turns that will take you on. Liz, I'm actually going to start with you.
Yeah, I think the keys to the show is that it's as much a family drama as it is a crime drama, and you can't unlock the truth about the crimes going on in the neighborhood without unlocking some of the secrets that this one family is harboring. And so I think we both had fun writing those scenes and allowing some of the twists to be related, in fact, to like mysteries of genealogy, mysteries of identity, as much as mysteries about homicide or disappearances.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the deeper in that Mickey got in exploring her relationship with her family, the more we were able to understand what was happening in the murder mystery. And so I think that one was always dependent upon the other.
And hearing from viewers has been fun because like some of the biggest gasps that gasp moments that they talk about have less to do with the crimes going on in the neighborhood and more to do with like Mickey and how sometimes she lies a little bit. She lies a little bit.
She's a fibber.
What does she really lie about? Yeah. She just sees it differently.
She hides things.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a lie by omission.
Right.
Yeah.
But
right.
There's some secrets
it's all
happening.
survival, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, we all have our ways, and none of us are perfect. And like again, like Mickey being flawed. Like she really is flawed, but she's still a good person. And of course, you want to, she doesn't get a free pass, but she is faced with it, and it's a beautiful thing to watch somebody come to terms with the way they've behaved and the things that they've believed and the behaviors they've kept in play, despite what they know, or it's a fully realized group of characters, and each character is moving at a different speed, but they're all working in the same orbit. It's the human story. It's so attractive to me as an actor because, again, like I said, I learned so much from it. But it's also like you want to reflect. You want to see on TV what you feel at home, and what you feel in your family, and like life only gets harder. So it's just such a relief sometimes to tell these stories because then
it's
you
universal.
Get the feedback too. Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard from a lot of people who are either in recovery from addiction or who love somebody who is struggling with addiction, and that's some of the most kind of meaningful messages that we receive is people who are using the show to kind of process stuff, and or can relate to one of the characters on the show.
Yeah.
It's almost like you guys the actors on the show function kind of as like allegories for all the different relationships you can have with addiction. And the interesting thing is, and I think this has a lot to do with the way that you all played your roles, I can sort of understand everybody's side, even when there's 4 different sides of a story. I'm sort of like, oh yeah, I do get why Mickey thinks she's doing the right thing, and I get why Casey thinks she's doing the right thing, and even G, who's played by John Doman, who's from the neighborhood, actually, he grew up in Fishtown, right next to Kensington, comes off as such a, like a hard tough
ass
guy. I didn't know if I was allowed to say it.
You're allowed to say it.
Right,
Yeah.
hard ass.
Even Simon though.
Even
Simon. Even Simon by the end when they have their confrontation, you're like, oh, I get where you're coming from. You're a piece of shit, but you're owning some of it, and that's your truth. Like it's.
Yeah, and it's just like, and like with G, or it's like so much of his behavior is defined and is coming from pain. The girls, he wasn't as close to the girls when they were growing up because they were a constant reminder of the daughter that he'd lost, and it's only when he's contemplating his own legacy in Thomas that he's able to repair the relationship that was happening with Mickey. So I think it's a unique, I think that you can in this particular story see a lot of, see everyone's side to a certain level, or see yourself in one of those characters, really.
I think that's really the thing. The reason why you can see everybody's side is because you see yourself. Liz, this was your first time on a set like this. This is your first experience taking one of your books beyond the page. What is something that you will take with you, from this experience?
It is the only experience I've ever had enjoying a group project.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Fair.
I do not like group work.
It's okay. It's okay.
And TV is like the ultimate group project.
Also, there's a lot of dopes in this in this industry.
But everybody keeps telling me that I'm really lucky on Long Bay River because I'll never have it this good again. Because everybody genuinely loved each other.
We stayed over at Nikki's last night.
Yeah.
We both flew in late-ish and stayed over at Nikki's.
Yeah.
That's success.
That is success. When you really have actually created like a real bond and friendship.
Respect and we had differing experiences at certain times, but we all loved it and really we were very committed to it, and we're all adults and we're all professionals and we just really enjoyed trust each other and enjoy, having time when we can to reflect on it.
Yeah.
When you first approached this material, what did you think you were getting yourself into? And then how did you feel when you wrapped up that script?
I will just preface this by saying that I wasn't looking for something grounded and heavy and dark, but also, therapeutic in a way. I wasn't looking for this. It was an opportunity that came around, and it was so unique. The storytelling, the perspective was so unique, and it knew exactly what it was, and it felt like if this knows exactly what it is, then maybe I will find something new within my own journey, especially with struggling with people, loved ones who are struggling with what a lot of the people the characters in this story are struggling with, like the opioid crisis, for instance. And maybe I will connect to myself in a deeper way because of this character's journey, and also because of my own Amanda's relationship to a lot of the subject matter. I will say, there's obviously so much happens along the way when you're shooting something. You create bonds, you see things differently. Unpredictable things happen all the time, and what I think is I can't really say that anything too crazy happened that I wasn't expecting. It was more that it did kind of bring me home in a way. I think maybe what I didn't expect is to feel like this experience grounded me as well, and I think it weighed more while I was working on it, and in reflecting on it now from further away from the shoot, I think it's really lit kind of a fire within me that I probably had a little bit of like a, the
embers were burning.
No, it was like what's the analogy of a the blue light in the on the
pilot
stove.
light?
Yes.
The pilot light.
So there was a pilot, you know, and for all of us, that's why, I mean, as artists too, we always have it burning, but there's something that really ignites a need to see something clearer. And I think the perspective of these characters in this community specifically really stood out to me as something that I feel like is really important to continue talking about as well, not just the opioid crisis as a whole.
Absolutely, and that's what this does so well. It's not just, you know, kind of a surface level, you know, people are addicts, bad things happen in communities, but it really takes time to understand and know the backgrounds and the psyches of these women, and it really is that sisterhood story at the end of the day. Liz, since this started with you in your brain, you know, how did you even go from conceptualizing that story to, you know, having an experience like you have had with Amanda and Nikki, where, you know, it's been interpreted into the show?
Yeah, I mean, the Long Bright River has been in one sense in the works for like 16 years, because the story started with a visit that I made to a neighborhood called Kensington in Philadelphia. I live in Philadelphia. My husband's family is from the area. And I got to know a lot of people in the neighborhood pretty intimately through first writing nonfiction about the neighborhood, and then ultimately volunteering with an organization called St. Francis Inn, leading free writing workshops in the community. And all of those experiences combined with my own family's long history of addiction formed the seeds of the novel Long Bright River. And then I was very lucky and grateful to be paired with Nikki, who is an experienced showrunner and now my friend. And we've been working on the project for 5 years now. And when Amanda came on, it really sealed the deal. And I think the three of us have been lucky to work with an enormous team of really talented people, including a lot of the people from the community itself, which we were thrilled to be able to do. So there were a lot of actors and non-actors from Kensington. We are composers, James Poyser of The Roots from Philly. We had real mummers. We had, you know, we just really, I think, all made a collective effort to include the community as much as possible. And we were grateful to the community for participating.
Absolutely. I definitely want to dig into how immersive this series is. And as you said, really, you know, pays homage in a very real way to the real people that are there. But Nikki, I want to ask you first what it felt like to join this community. What was it about the material that kind of lit you?
I mean, there were so many things that I loved about the book. I loved that the character of Mickey was flawed and that she told you so, and it made you want to believe that she was a reliable narrator, so it was quite a rug pull to realize that she wasn't. I loved, Liz has such a wonderful sense of place that she brings to all of her novels, and I thought that would be unique and sort of challenging to sort of try to recreate. I loved the love story between the two sisters, juxtaposed with this murder mystery, and the idea that Mickey had to reflect on her own past in order to not only solve the disappearance of her sister, but find the identity of the killer. I loved that it upended both the cop as savior narrative and the victim narrative as well. And I feel like all of those things sort of just crystallized in my desire. And I knew, I mean, I read her book in one sitting, and I knew that I wanted to be a part of it.
I mean, when you say that too, it is just a reminder of honestly just how much material is packed in to a book like this, and then to then interpret that into 8 episodes. That's a pretty tall task you all took on.
Yeah, they did it. I had nothing to do with that. Truly, I keep saying to them, I don't know. I keep saying to a lot of people, it's just really hard to translate book into good storytelling in this medium. So I'm still in awe of what they were able to accomplish. It really does, it is a very unique story, and we can say that until we're blue in the face, but I don't feel biased at this point. I feel like from day one I knew that this was special, and in looking back at it and watching it as an audience member, which I don't normally do. I do not normally watch the TV that I'm in. I don't know why. I spent too much time with it.
Yeah, you lived it already.
But I watched it and I was even watching as an audience, and that is hard to do because everything is so well thought out, and everything has a purpose, and without being distracted, it's hard. It was a feat. Yeah, it's fun to talk about still.
Well, now I want to be nosy because, obviously this is a show that, because it is tracing these sisters' history, does employ flashbacks and plenty of scenes that you are not in. But of course, you were an executive producer on this series as well. But what was it like to watch like the full scope?
Oh my God, that's another reason I wanted to watch it so badly, because there were very, very, maybe one day I had off the whole time. But some scenes with episode 4 specifically, when we do the flashbacks of the girls at teenage years and childhood, it gave me it really drove me. Like, as an audience member, it's always hard to watch flashbacks as an actor, as people that are portraying you. But for whatever reason, the way it was written, the way it was shot, it was I believed it. And I needed to see those scenes in order to really get the complete scope of the trauma that my character was struggling with. And you know what is kind of crazy is that I think I was 99% there, and it really didn't dawn on me completely until I saw it in front of me. And I was like I knew what I was playing. Yeah. I knew what my job was for sure, but it's when you really see it, you're just reminded that far too many people have these incredibly traumatic relationships at way too young of an age that are completely inappropriate and can change the course of your life. And seeing that in front of me was just, I give it to you guys to just show that as, I mean, there's a lot in this show, not just that obviously, but yeah, to see the context, to see how people can get to where they are, where you find them. It's just, we all have a story.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like this kind of question goes without asking in the idea of why Amanda was the perfect person to embody Mickey. I feel like you just explained it in that, is that you have that sense and that knowledge of being able to imbue a character with that backstory, even though you are not necessarily playing that backstory.
Yeah, so, or if I haven't experienced, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You don't have to experience something to understand it, but sometimes to see it in front of you, which is why TV and film are so important, you can actually empathize. You think somebody killed her?
Not sure. No one in the right mind would inject themselves with that much insulin, but right mind is the operative term here.
Unless the other bodies were injected too. Are you gonna do an autopsy?
Wasn't planning on it. Both of them came in as accidental ODs. You know something I don't?
3 bodies discovered in 4 days. Similar demographics on the victims, and one of them might have been murdered. If there's a bad batch of something out there, then these girls need to know what it is. If there isn't, then they need to know to watch their backs. And if I don't tell them.
What did make Amanda the right fit for this character that you'd imagined?
I think Amanda is a really gifted actor, and it's remarkable. It was my first experience being on a set at length. And I have a huge amount of respect for actors at the end of being part of that shoot, and especially for Amanda, who was literally in like almost every scene possible.
Shocking, but I was like, okay, that's what I signed up for.
Yeah. You knew what you were getting.
You're going in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're incredibly generous, especially because we had community members working on set who would come in. We had the head of St. Francis Inn, actually, whose name is Michael Duffy, and he's a brother of a Franciscan order. And he came in to play a priest on the show, and he had no prior experience, and same with, a couple of local graffiti artists from Kensington who came into play. And, someone like Amanda, who has really grown up on camera, it's so moving to watch her in conversation with them on screen, because you can tell that the energy is going both ways. Like, she's very experienced and a pro and is so willing to work with them. And they are bringing this kind of like truth and authenticity from the community to set, where they might not know like where to look, but they do have like lived experience that they can contribute. And so without knowing, we were hopeful, I think, that Amanda would be game, and she was way more than game, and like befriended everybody. And
definitely has its bonuses, like benefits to having real people. If they're game, they surprise themselves. There's always
and
that fear.
us too. And I think that there's a rawness to the character of Mickey Fitzpatrick that Amanda, we believed Amanda would capture in this real, this like truly authentic way, and we were right.
And she's from Allentown, Pennsylvania.
That's another bonus. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm kind of going
back,
going home.
Yeah.
in some way. Yeah.
We saw a picture of her in a Phillies baseball cap before the deal was done, and I was like, please.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Do you know the picture I'm talking about?
Is it at the U.S. Open?
I don't know where it was, but I saw it, and then I texted it to everybody, and I was like, this is our person.
I think that was my Ryan era.
I don't know.
He's a Phillies fan.
I don't know, but it exists. If you're watching this, go find a
well,
picture.
James Poyser made sure that they were aware that I wanted to throw the first pitch out at a game.
Is it going to happen?
Oh.
And it just has to, possibly when we're in the city it could happen. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's just like, I'm Philly for life now. I even became an Eagles fan.
We all are.
Welcome.
At times, much to my dismay. She's educating me about the history of Philadelphia.
What's your city?
At all times. My weird obsession city is Boston.
Okay.
That's fine. I get it. That makes sense.
There's just something about it. I'm a little bit of a Whitey Bulger fangirl, and what?
Aside from the killings. People.
Oh no! No, I didn't mean it. I'm just saying the story.
The stories. They're rich stories in Boston, just like they're rich stories in Philly, like you told here.
No, but Liz and I make a joke. There's a Thomas in the third episode is talking to his mother, and he wants her to tell him, why his dad's not around, and he says, I know too much about the history of Philadelphia, and we make a joke that
Nikki likes to say that to me.
That I say that to her.
I'm like, there's no such thing.
We act that out quite a bit. So.
Yep.
Well, I will say I didn't know why his dad wasn't talking to him. That was one of the many surprises here. But I want to go back to like the beginning of developing Mickey.
Liz had already, done all the research for the book, and then we reconnected with one of the lieutenants in the precinct in Fishtown, and we all went, and I went on a ride along by myself with two of the cops, and one of them's like a single mom, just like Mickey, and right away I saw these people were human, they were mothers. I mean, Mickey she's a protector, she's got a son, for all intents and purposes, and it was harrowing. It was crazy. I'm like, I can't imagine. I can't believe people are cops. I can't believe this. Thank God people are cops, because I'm not cut out for this. I can play this, but I want to portray this as best of my ability, but I cannot believe you put your lives on the line every day. My God. Yeah. Too much politics. Too many crazy people out there, too many bad apples, and boy, I have a lot of respect. I really do, for the good ones.
And that is something that, I understand was also a very important theme and idea as we were portraying police in this show, this idea of that kind of community focus and community led. Can you tell me a little bit about how you wanted to make sure like that was the line that we were walking or portraying?
So the basis of the story came out of interviews that I was doing with a lot of the women in the community who did report real instances of being taken advantage of by certain members of the police force. And this was reported on by the Philadelphia Inquirer. It was, something that I heard firsthand and took very seriously. And so there are strains of that that echo in the book and also in the show. And none of us wish to portray that any differently from the way it really was, and sort of the facts of what was happening in Kensington, but also all over the country in certain circumstances. So I think we all sort of walked a line of, as Amanda said, wanting to portray this one individual as a person within a community, within a family, and tell her specific story, while also allowing it to sort of reflect some of the larger themes that we were exploring, like in some cases police corruption, in some cases generational trauma, cycles of addiction. But I mean, I teach writing and I always tell my students, like, the specific is the universal. And so as specific as we could get on this one family, I think our job was made easier by keeping the lens really tight on them.
Absolutely. And that idea is when you have the lens on that one family and what you all do with it by really, allowing each of the family members and these family relationships to really shine is really remarkable. Like you said, Amanda, this is a very unique show in that sense. We really get a chance to know them. I want to talk about episode 6. I'm gonna go to that one because that is one of those episodes that kind of turns a lot of this on its head. Nikki, of course, you directed that episode. Tell me a little bit about the idea of capturing all of these different emotional beats in one, 40-minute episode? Hour?
I think that was more like, I think it's more like
51.
50, yeah. You had a little extra time.
That's the scene at the end where it's me and Casey in the house.
That's part of it.
I mean, it goes from...
That was a doozy.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I feel like that episode, I felt like we shot it, and I can't remember how many days that episode was. Maybe 10 or something like that. Or how many was it?
9 or 8.
Yeah. And I just remember like the first 4 days being like, I just felt bad for Amanda. I was like, I'm just putting this girl through the ringer, man.
Literally.
She was just crying. I mean, tears were just coming all the time.
And like everything
Every
that
10
could
seconds.
possibly happen in one scene.
Yeah. I think that the biggest challenge of that episode, because of the fact that there were so many reveals, is that I didn't want that to all be on Amanda's shoulder. So I had a lot of conversations with my DP about like what we were doing from a production design, from a lighting aspect to to do some of the work long before Amanda even like stepped into the frame. And so I think that there was a lot of that, and making sure that it felt that those reveals felt real and earned in the moment. But it was a lot on particularly on Amanda and Ashley. That was a lot of discovery that were falling on those two characters. A lot of emotional reveals. But yeah, you guys just, you made me look really, really good.
Oh God, I feel like that was the longest episode, and it probably was in time. It probably was the longest episode, but it felt like that scene in particular at the end when she reveals the new suspect, and oh my God, it's just like she has a whole process because her character's in a way different place, and my character's starts out like terrified that she's using again, that she's high, which is just the worst thing.
Oh no, it's not that one. It's not the 7. Can we?
Yeah, we can spoil it.
The end of
It's
episode
okay.
6 is the discovery that Paul is dead. You also
Go see your dad.
you also
Yeah.
learn that your
Oh my
you
God,
also learn that your
oh my
father's
God,
alive.
we were like gonna run out of time with this.
You also
Sorry, yeah.
realize that your sister is pregnant
pregnant.
with
Oh my gosh,
Simon's
yeah.
child. So yeah, there were a lot of reveals in that one.
Oh, wait, the flashback with her?
Yes.
Yeah, the flashback.
That was actually-
an amazing scene. We were in this
That was the
old-
worst, the most regret I've ever had of the whole season. that was the hardest scene to ever shoot.
It was a very, we were in a dilapidated house that, in
Full
a
of
very,
smoke.
very small room, and there was a lot of atmosphere, a lot of smoke. There was,
Oh my God, I wish I could
we
reshoot
did
it.
this sort of production design thing with this, with a curtain and light coming in. The entire episode was all about, you know, light and darkness and what we were and how we were using that light and darkness to convey these different reveals that were coming through. And in this particular instance, it was just a very, very challenging scene because there was
high.
both characters were experiencing so much pain, so much guilt, so much shame, and it was happening, you know, all happening at the same time.
And the end result of that is complete betrayal too.
Yeah.
So it's awful. It's awful. But and it was crazy because again, like Ashley had to be doing all this work to find herself in this space that she doesn't really even know. Like I don't think either of us have ever been high, and she's there, but she's also pregnant, and I'm like so happy and relieved that I found her. Yeah, too many things in one. Really.
It was like a lot. It was a lot to play, but we experienced.
quadruple
We
whammy.
played a lot with levels in that, as far as how much pain, how much, you know, how much emotion was being showed in those scenes, and they were just so. You guys were both.
Oh, I think
so
that was just true guilt that was coming through. That I couldn't get there. No. It was true guilt. No, truly, I was just playing myself now. I'm a piece of shit.
You were being so hard on yourself.
But it was because
Why are you being so hard on yourself?
it needed to be a home run. It was a
home run.
pivotal moment that broke everything. Because then the trajectory from there.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you come back from that? And then she takes the kid, and it's unreal. But then, of course, it's just a lot.
It was a lot, but I knew we had it.
And you know what?
But then we kept on going.
But you know what
I wanted to make sure.
What I think is interesting, though, that I never really talked about, that I didn't truly know how to put into words, but the fact that Mickey thinks, at one point, at a lot of points in this story, in their lives, Mickey thinks that she's going to be the only person that can save her sister. Mm-hmm. Mickey thinks it's up to her.
It's such an older sister thing to think.
Yeah, and it's like, it turns out that actually the thing that's going to really like get her to the recovery level that she needs to be at is to be not defined and to be completely out of her grasp. And that's
like surrender.
Hard to swallow, and just like and to know, and for Mickey to discover that her sister, what she needed was not her, what she needed was never that clench that she's felt like in the shadow of her sister, her older sister, for her entire life. So it's like it's that dawning on her, and the switch is flipping at the end. It's I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that in anything before, and to end on such for the finale to be so moving and like invigorating too. It's hard. I'm gonna keep celebrating the success that I think it is.
Well, it's quite hopeful.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of
it's gotta
times
be.
these stories don't end on a hopeful place.
But like, what's the point then? I mean, shit's still hard.
Sure.
But what about the potential? What about leaving space for possibilities of someone to actually thrive from the shit? So it's like the last page of The Goldfinch. I have it framed because whatever teaches you to rise out of the abyss or whatever.
Ashley was in.
What?
Which
Ashley was in the movie.
Goldfinch.
It was?
She was Pippa.
Who was?
Ashley Cummings.
Are you just me?
I didn't know that. She was in The Goldfinch?
Yes.
Full circle.
Yeah, you can have that conversation with her.
Yeah, you should.
I do think that it was really important to so many of the people that I know and love in Kensington, and that you too now know and love in Kensington, are actually examples of that, of people who are in long-term recovery. And those are the stories that I think kind of get short shrift. And I think it's really important to show those stories as well. I have a lot of people in my family who are in long-term recovery, and so we were not interested necessarily in like going deeper and deeper and deeper into a morality play about addiction. We were interested in showing that all their addiction is a disease that has many different endings, including hopeful ones, or at least ones that are sort of like questions hanging in the balance. And that's what I think we all hoped that the ending would do.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ashley poses the question, do you think the babies in here will be okay?
And there's no answer.
Yeah.
You just, yeah.
She was in the goldfinch. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, but it's true. I hope people continue to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for giving us this, and I'm so glad that you all got something out of it too. That is, like you said, that is success. When the audience can see themselves and you get a chance to open up too. So thank you for opening up with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Cheers.